Hello, just have to turn the volume off on my computer. Okay. Hi, Maria. So if you're just checking in, say hello, and I don't know who's here. Julie. Okay. Now, I just need to check one thing. And tell me if you can hear me still. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. So can you hear me? Okay, great. That's all I need to know because I didn't want to get any disruptions. Okay. All right, welcome everyone. I don't know what's going on over here, but okay. Great. All right, so some of your comments will come up on the screen, but I'm going to be looking at my laptop in front of me. I hope it's not too distracting, but I wanted to make sure I didn't miss points about this particular live chat about how to communicate with your angels. And so I will probably let you know when I'm going to look at the chat and if I want to interact in terms of questions, okay? So, hello, Marie. Wow, let's see, there's somebody thriving with spiritual autism. Hello, Kim. Okay. And Noelle, Dawn, Susan, Bridget, Julie, welcome, all of you. Kim, Kim, you said you're just telling me your name is Kim, or do I know you, Kim? Because I do know some Kims personally. All right, so I am going to go ahead and, okay, all right. So let me go ahead and begin. And there's this whole thing with my ability, my nearsightedness, such a compromise here. So I tried to put the text on like 200 so that I could still see from a distance. So this is a couple of things that we're going to cover. So the first part is going to be about angelic communication channels. And this may be information that a lot of you are aware of, but just in case there are people watching, I want to go through this information and talk about it. Then creating a sacred space and creating a sacred alignment. So I'm going to talk about that in terms of how to create the space or create alignment, sacred alignment, before doing a reading. So it's in the areas of the spiritual, the spiritual alignment, the mental, emotional, and physical. And I'll explain that when we get to that section. Then I'll just quickly go through how I prepare for a reading. And I'm talking about mainly, I mean, it's going to work for any kind of reading, whether it's for a client or not, but we're focusing on personal readings for yourself. And then, let's see, then something that was really important that I learned in my studies with the Biddy Tarot certification was get into the heart of the question. And there's some things that I want to add to this about the kind of questions we ask, whether they're predictive or are you creating your future, and which one feels in alignment. Like, because a lot of times when we go to a question or we try to communicate with the angels in some way, we are not in alignment, or we are creating resistance. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as well. And then we're going to do a reading. I have a a spread that I created so that we could do this together. And this is where you will need your journal and your cards. And I have 5 questions that I pose for the etheric, spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And so we'll see when we get there. And that's where you all can share the responses and what you're gathering from this. Okay, so let's begin with and let me just check over here to just make sure. Okay, so let's begin with the angelic communication channels. So what we really want you to kind of get from this is to understand the different channels the angels communicate divine guidance or information and how they work together in your readings. And to also identify the primary channel that you use for receiving divine guidance. And again, many of you may be aware of this. Okay, so the first, so we're talking about the 4 clairs. Clairvoyance is the most popular one. And, this is a visual. So this is, these are similar to the 5 senses, except these are the higher self's awareness, tools of awareness through which, higher self, your higher self source, and the angels can communicate with you. And so with the visual, this is with some people with eyes open or eyes, hi Regina, or eyes closed, okay? So they kind of, work the same way, except that you're seeing things in your inner vision versus out in this space around you. So that means that some people see these things with that the visions that they see are, sort of overlapping with their 3-dimensional reality, right? So these, and so you may see energy in terms of color, shapes, figures, numbers, words, and other symbolism that take on characteristics to the physical world for help in relating to it as information, okay? So, the eyes closed is a similar thing. There's sort of signs and synchronistic events, like some people see feathers, or they find coins, or you're driving and, you have this deep question inside, and you see a billboard and it has this message. It makes you laugh because it's like exactly what you need to hear, or you see this number sequence everywhere on a license plate, on your clock, wherever you're going, you're noticing these patterns. And so with the visual, you're noticing patterns and signs in all the different ways that the angels and your guides because it's just, when I say angels, I'm just talking about everything that is communicating with you, the source. With clairaudience, this is hearing, so spiritual hearing. And so for me, again, there's inner and outer, right? So for me, you may like hear all of a sudden, I know I've often heard or realized that a song was playing and I didn't even realize that it was there. And it just became, I wouldn't say louder, but it's almost like the thought that brought that song or a phrase into your consciousness, into your awareness, gathers more supporting thoughts and ideas. It's sort of like the universe's way of lobbying for your attention. And so then all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, and you'll start singing it before you realize that you're hearing it. Or you will start to say something before you realize that it was coming through you, okay? So the words may feel placed in your mouth. I used to like to say, hold on 1 minute, this is a little too, when am I gonna be able to get? I'll go with this. It's a little too big. So yeah, it'll feel like you were like the words were just placed in your mouth to say, and you don't realize it until it comes. Or in the outer, you may be hearing a distinct voice outside of your head that might be your guide or your angels. Now the inner voice, I don't know if I hear it. So it's sort of like, and this came to me today between claircognizance and clairaudience, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna remember it. But okay, I'll just jump to claircognizance for a moment. So it's like, I don't ever feel sense words with claircognizance. I think that was gonna be the difference between the clairaudience. It's as if you're hearing with the clairaudience in the inner for me. And it just feels like, words are the language, your language is sort of comes to you involuntarily. It just sort of comes to you. The language comes through, like as if I said, as if the words are placed in your mouth. But with claircognizance, to me, it's just a knowing. It's not ever. It's like, because I call this like the aha moment, or it's an activation of inspiration or insights, clarity, or confirmation. You just know. It's not like you hear it, you just know it, okay? But wherein the clairaudience is like, it's dealing with our language more. And so it feels like the language is coming without you realizing it. It's like it's placed in your mouth. It's the best way. And it's like when you hear it, you can almost, I don't hear a voice in my head, but I can feel or sense the words. And I think that's the difference, because you may say, well, how that may be more like the claircognizance, but I think not, because for me, for claircognizance, it's just a knowing. Like, for instance, the first symbol that I was ever given once I started, let me see, I think it was after I came back from the angel therapy practitioner course. And I think the first thing I saw was the letter T. And I just knew it was the word trust. That was the first guidance, that they were formal guidance that they were giving to me, is trust. Because before taking the course, I'm the kind of person, like, sometimes like teaching me something, then I become this student, and then I kind of just, I don't reject what I've learned, but I easily put it away because I'm very open-minded. And then I feel stuck because it's like, well, I had this fluency before, and now that I'm thinking about it, it's not there. And so it was kind of, I felt like I was starting over again. And so the first thing they wrote was the letter T in this very thick, bold type. And I saw it in my mind's eye, and I just knew it was trust. There was no sense of feeling of the word coming into my mouth. It was, I knew it was what they were trying to say to me. And a lot of times the symbols, when I see symbols and I have to interpret them, it's like the knowing comes with it. I just know that that's what they mean. When I don't, then what I do is I start describing it. I start talking about it. And as you do, you unlock the matrix of energy. So whatever symbols and things that you see that the angels give to you, especially the visuals and the others, I've left out one, but I'm going to go back to it, Clairsentience. If you start to talk about it, describe it is what I mean. Describe it. Once you do that, you connect with the energy matrix of what that symbol means. And within that matrix is information, wisdom. And so once you touch it, probe it with your energy, you unlock it. I'm telling you, guaranteed. So just, hi, Meryl, just trust yourself. And that's what they meant by trust. I just didn't know that at that moment, if I started talking, describing it, that it would just unfold. And so clairsentience is the fourth one, which is feelings and senses. So smell, taste, touch. You know, the way I look at this differently from the five senses is that with the five senses, you have a physical representation or an energy, for it. So if you're smelling something with your five senses, because there's something cooking, there's something burning, there's something happening in the physical dimension. But with clairsentience, your feelings and your senses, the smell, taste, and touch, there is nothing. You'll have this sense, you'll have a taste of something in your mouth, or you'll feel something touching you, but there's no physical representation for it. And that's the divine. I've been very fortunate because I have a nut allergy. And when now I've developed a sixth sense because I've had, not like often during the year, but maybe once a year, I've had an accident where I went to a restaurant or something. I didn't realize there were nuts in the food, and I always ask, and they just didn't hear me, and I ate it, whatever. So now, one time I called and ordered something, and I hung up the phone, and as soon as I hung up the phone, my tongue started itching, and I went, that's like. I started thinking about mine because it felt just like the reaction I would have if I had some nuts. And so I called back immediately and asked, did that particular item have nuts in it? And they said yes. And I was like, whoops, cancel that or leave them out. So that started to happen. And that would be clairsentience. That's the angels knowing that, this is not, that this could be very, very serious if I had the nuts, and starting to give me that kind of insight. All right, now, the last thing I want to talk about with all of this is that you may be focused in one, like you may have a primary one. And, but the thing is that they all work together, okay? They all work together. So the claircognizance, as far as I'm concerned, if it's not a dominant way that you read, it's there behind all things, because the crown chakra is where you is the chakra for this this clair, and it's in that clear knowing there is no such thing as doubt. So this is clear communication with God, with the universe. And in that chakra, doubt does not exist. So when we have doubts, we are definitely lowering our vibration and cutting ourselves off from those higher chakras that we've tensed up, closed off. And so, like when I saw that letter T, that the claircognizance was the one that informed me of what my vision was. It's the same thing. Like one time I was working with somebody and I was doing Reiki and in crystals. It was a long time ago, and because I haven't done that in a long time, and my right arm just felt this pain in my right arm, and I just knew, I don't know why, but I knew it had to do with issues with the person's their father. I just knew it. There was no sense of words coming into my mind telling me that. And that's the difference between the clairaudience and the claircognizance for me. So they work together. So the feeling and the clairsentience and the claircognizance worked together in that moment. And they could be three. I think the claircognizance is always there, and there could be one other or two other that are helping you to relay the information. So let's see. A simple way, I mean, you'll know, like if you get a lot of visions, then you know you're mainly clairvoyant. That's your main channel. And then the other ones will be like a support. If you're a clairaudience, it's because you hear, you just hear the messages a lot. Like when you hear the message, you hear a message and you relay them. You sense them coming through. They just feel like you have to say it, and that's your primary way. Then you're clairaudient. Clairsentience, that's your primary one because you're always getting feelings and feeling emotions, and this is the one where you're maybe empathic in this way. And then, of course, the claircognizance is just the knowing. It's like if you just seem to know things, and people probably call you a know-it-all because you just seem to like anything that somebody puts in front of you, you look at it and you know exactly what to do. All right, so let's go to creating a sacred alignment or creating a sacred space. Bridget Biddy Tarot calls it creating a sacred space, and what I'm looking at is creating sacred alignment in these different areas, and whether or not you're creating sacred alignment or resistance in how you prepare for the reading. So, all right. So, and this is the purpose of this is to help you to create sacred alignment spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically before beginning a reading in those areas, and then to develop your own rituals in preparation for a reading. So the spiritual, this is the question. I just put a question so it kind of helps you understand. What do you do that helps you to feel inspired for a reading? Okay, so that might be saging, or lighting a candle. Some of these things are going to overlap, or essential oils, meditating. Now, meditating is probably going to be in most of these because as much as we would like to get around it, it is the most important one. And for many ways, it just prepares you. Meditation prepares your entire life and your reception and response towards life, your perspective, okay? And so prayer may be one way that you get prepared, that you're inspired spiritually and that you prepare your spirit for the reading you're going to do for yourself. And what's really important is that you treat the readings that you do for yourself like the readings you do for your clients. That's what's really, really important, okay? So let's take a look at, and of course, You may call in your guides, right? So, just before today, a new archangel that I knew about, but I've never worked with, Archangel Nathaniel. And his name means the gifts of God. And what he showed me, just to take a little moment to do this, because this will work with, what we were just talking about in the previous, but what he showed me was a hand that was like you're holding an apple, but what he was holding was sort of in front of him, and it was a gateway and a path, and it just symbolized this holding, bringing an opportunity into your awareness. So he brings these gifts to you from God. He brings it to your awareness, the opportunities that are around you that you may not often be paying attention to, because your mind is focused on the chatter that's in your head. And, a lot of that chatter, what I was told today, and will come out tomorrow on the Daily Cart message for Monday, the 11th, is that a lot of the thoughts that run through your mind, you're like, oh my God, I got so many thoughts going through my head, and, I just can't focus, I can't sleep. Most of those thoughts it's like having a groupie, if that makes sense, where, there's this one popular person in the middle, and everybody else is just influenced and follows whatever he does, or she does. And so that's like you have a core thought that then attracts a litter of other thoughts. And as I said before, a little earlier, those thoughts, collective, like background noise, is like chatter, because what it's trying to do is collect attention towards a central thought. And this only happens because of the backlog of thoughts that we do not pay attention to, that we do not make time for. And maybe this is one of the things that this coronavirus is also helping us by having us all slow down and stop. Now we have our thoughts, and people that really don't like them, they're uncomfortable with them. But if we were to pay attention to our thoughts, we wouldn't have this backlog of thoughts. And that's where meditation comes in, because it's about listening. It's not just about getting rid of the thoughts. I mean, there's different reasons you may want to meditate, and I don't really have time to go into all of that right now. But meditation is definitely one way where you can respect and honor those thoughts. And once you start to focus in a constructive way, say like journaling or doing something creative, the rest of them go away. You notice that once you take care of something, all of that other stuff and the anxiety, that everything that is made up, because all that stuff is your body responding to the thought. So the anxiety is the thought is creating this vibration that is now creating this energy of nervousness. And so now your physical body has to create a response through your nervous system. And we're just interpreting the things a certain way. Okay. All right. So now we get to the mental preparation for reading. So the question would be, what's your focus or intention for the reading? Now, the mental focus is the most important one, because many people go to their readings and they're not in alignment. It's resistance because you're worried about something. You're like, and you're usually have this predictive question in your head. When will I get this job? When will I meet this person? And those questions are not in alignment with your soul, your higher self, because you are a creator. You are endowed with all the powers of the creator. And when you ask questions like that, you are doubting all of that you are. And that's not going to sit well with your spirit. It's not. You cannot expect your spirit to advocate you telling yourself lies. It's the simplest way to put it. So the way that we focus, and that's what we're going to get into in the next segment or segment after, about the types of questions you ask, or they're predictive or they're creating your reality. So I won't go into that right now. So this helps you to clear negative chatter. So setting aside your own stuff. So that means you need to mentally prepare yourself so you can get rid of your ego, get it out of the picture, you know? One of the ways that I do that, especially when I'm doing readings for clients, is that, you know, I always say the things that in preparation in the beginning of the reading, like the things that may come up that I know could trigger me. So like, you know, somebody going, oh, I don't want to talk about that. So I talk about that before, like how I'm going to handle that. You know, like I totally honor you if you don't want to talk about it, but if your higher self keeps bringing it up, then I need you to trust your higher self, and we both need to defer to the higher self in this situation. And by doing that, my ego can't get me during the reading. You know, and I think the best way for your ego not to get you is to not ask predictive questions, but ask questions that are in alignment with who you really are, because you are the creator of your reality. Okay, so deep breathing, just, you know, taking a deep breath, and I mean, right away that just clears even just the tension that's building up, because what's happening is that you're like wound up, because your mind, you can't hear those thoughts, but your mind is focused on something else other than what you're supposed to be doing. And that's the anxiety. We interpret anxiety as like a breakdown in ourselves. But what the anxiety really is, it's the tension between your higher self and you. And both are you. It's just that you are choosing to forget and ignore on one hand, and on the other hand, you're choosing to remember very strongly and all that you are, and you are over there, you know, advocating for on the behalf of you, that aspect of you that has forgotten. So your higher self is always remembering, right? Recalling all of the pieces and facets of you that are divine, and as in unified way. So, all right, you know, body awareness meditation. You know, that'll help you get your mind off of what you're doing if you give your mind something else to focus on. So you go through and meditate, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, you know, and just going through your body, or paying attention to, and when something comes up in your body, just giving your attention somewhere else to focus. And this helps to, you know, clear and prepare your mind. I don't know where maybe I'm going to put this down somewhere else, but okay, yeah, I know where it's coming. Okay, so getting to the heart of the question, and that's what we're going to do a little bit later. So I won't explain that right now, but that is a part of the mental preparation. That means, you know, writing down your question, making sure that question really resonates with you, that you like feel like, aha, yes, this is what my soul wants to know. All right, but we'll get into a little bit deeper. Okay, and again, I talked about this already, the kind of question, whether it's predictive or you're creating your future. I tell you, that really plays a big role on how in alignment you're going to feel doing the reading for yourself, and being able to not let your ego get in the way. So the emotional, so the mental is vibration, okay? The emotional is energy. So what kind of energy do you wish to transmit, channel through your reading? So that's how you want to prepare that aspect of yourself, because we have these different bodies: spiritual, emotional, mental, physical, right? And so How do you, so for me, of course, every decision and action is an act of love. So that your reading is an act of love. You're choosing to align with love and the things you perform, even in the mental, the spiritual, and the physical preparations for creating sacred alignment. Okay? Your readings are for healing and creating joy and peace. This is that whole, just getting your mind, getting yourself emotionally prepared for the reading. That you're thinking about, the healing the joy that you want to feel and experience, the peace that you want to experience, so that when you're writing your questions, that is your aim and your goal. All right. So this is something I call energy grids. I can explain this without going over it. And I've forgotten to pay attention to my time, but I think I'm still on point here. So, long story short. So when I was out one day in nature, I just noticed this glass, like iridescent grid, but it looks like the helix of our DNA, or like the fences, those old wired fences, metal fences that we would have in our yards, and that's exactly what it looked like. And I was like, oh my goodness, because I've had this feeling that ever since I saw Star Trek, that holographic room really just struck a core of memory, of something, remembering. And I don't remember the visual, but it's something I remember in my soul, that this world is a projection of our inner beliefs, our thoughts, our what we envision, our desires, and that it's all projected out into this hologram. And I could see this grid. And I saw it on the river, the same matrix, it was the incredible. I looked at my skin, I could see it. Very careful when my eyes were very good back then. But I just noticed it everywhere I looked. And I could see the pattern. And I thought, wow, it's in our DNA. And it just kept going and going. So it's like a code, right? It's like our DNA is like a code. So that holds all of this information. And so that means that everything in the physical world has some meaning to you. Whatever you have in your space is there because so there is that energy grid is a grid of emotion. So I can tune into that. I can call it up as though, it's like this, and you see in the movies, those screens that are in the air. And so I call up that energy grid for someone's reading, or I'll call up the energy grid for an organ of the body or anything. I mean, the chair, everything has a matrix of a grid, and it's composed up of energy, okay? And so you can get a reading from the energy grid, and you call it up psychically. And then the next thing that will prepare you emotionally for the reading are guided meditations. This is where I would include my chakra meditations. And any other meditation, I'll probably do a little small one with you. I usually do them with you, like, this lake and the swan, and this flame. I mean, those are guided meditations, and they help you connect emotionally to the spirit realm, and it prepares you emotionally to be in that vibration, that energy, the vibration and energy of higher consciousness. All right, so then the physical preparation for that's where you're really creating a sacred space. So where do you feel most safe? This is the realm of matter. Where do you feel most safe and comfortable doing your readings? All right, and that's really important that you be aware that there's a particular location inside your home or outside your home somewhere where you feel really safe and it feels sacred and you feel really connected to the universe. Maybe there's an altar or table that you have. Maybe there are objects that you bring into this, like crystals, decks, oracles or tarot decks, pictures, statues, candles, cleansing tools. Some of these things you see we've already mentioned. But being in that space and that you prepare your space, your physical space, that you prepare your emotional energy, that you prepare your mental vibration, and that you prepare your spirit. All of these areas are very important. Okay, so before I go on, let me just make sure that everybody is following me and not feeling a little overwhelmed. So, does anyone have any questions at this point, or is it okay to continue? Just let me know. Let's see. I'm not seeing, so, okay. So I'm gonna assume it's okay. Good. Okay, done. So see Don, it's like, okay, continue, great. I just wanna make sure that everybody's keeping up energetically. All right. And that if you have any particular questions at this point. So the next thing I'm going to do is sort of talk you through like how I prepare. And of course, some of that, what you've heard comes from that, from me, but I try to think of other things as well. So the first thing for me is, meditation. I can't start. I mean, even before I sage, I have to do that. Because a lot of people, are worried about negative energy. I hear this a lot from some clients. And I don't know. I mean, I know we believe that there is, but there really isn't. I mean, the negative energy that you're aware of is really someone who is out of alignment. That's not negative. It feels negative, but it's not really negative. Like, our universe is made up of polarities so that we can understand the results that we're experiencing, right? There are these opposites, hot, cold, da, 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 so that we can understand the experience that we're having and that we are also, choosing to engage. So these positive negatives, sort of a more of a thinking of it scientifically, kind of just, it lets you know where you are, how you're moving around and what you're engaging, and how you're engaging this three-dimensional reality that has these polarities, duality. And your interpretation, fear, stress, anxiety, it's a little too personal for the universe, for source. It's your choice, but it's a little too personal. What I mean by that is that's getting really attached to things that happen here. And it's sort of like a codependency. Because if something's bad and something's good, then we're judging that experience. And when we say that out loud, or we feel it or we think it, other people will feel bad about not feeling the way that you do. And that's how we all create limitation for one another rather than freedom. And freedom is so important to this planet. Every being on this planet cherishes freedom as a primary, like maybe it's like up there at the very top, right? And but how can energy can switch astrological signs? Tarot. I'm not quite sure I understand what you mean, but I'll try to remember that towards the end. But if you want to just say some more about that, then I can maybe understand what you're talking about. So yeah. So like it's like if you start thinking that, oh, this person has negative energy. Oh, that thing has negative energy. Like, oh, these decks, certain decks, oh, that has negative energy. Okay, you're closing yourself off from information. Okay, all right. Let me just finish. So you're closing yourself off from information, because what this three-dimensional reality was created for is a school. So a school is a place of learning and a place where information is shared. And one of our biggest problems in our three-dimensional society is that we keep trying to censor that. And this is your ego's way of censoring information for you, as if you can't interact with it and then make decisions that are right for you. It'd be wonderful if we could do that without forming an opinion, or that's what I mean by getting personal with it. It would be so wonderful if we could do that. All right, so I'm getting kind of caught up in that right now. But so, yeah. So this whole negative energy. So the thing is that it's so important when to balance your chakras as often as possible. When I go a period of time and I feel really good and I just don't do it, and I feel like I'm able to connect in really easily, at some point it stops feeling that good, and then it's because the chakras need to be rebalanced. Or if I get like irritable or just agitated or can't sleep properly, it's usually about the chakras aren't balanced. And especially because of all the energy shifts we're going through right now and the ascension process, we really need to keep them up to speed, if you will. And I did a chakra meditation recently, but Diana Cooper and Tim Wilde have one on YouTube. You can look it up on the fifth dimensional chakras. If I can remember, I'll try to put the link, but in the video, after the video. So this is very important. All right, so and then that just prepares most of me in those areas. Lighting a candle. Then I'll light my candle, I'll sage, I call in the fire dragons, I call in Archangel Michael, and the earth dragons to just sort of ground my energy, clear the ley lines under my building. And all of this is not necessary. It's just your ritual, what makes you feel, again, because you're trying to create sacred alignment. And that's what's important. We could probably just do meditation and be perfectly fine. But we need to do what prepares us to feel the sacred alignment. So, so, whatever beings that come in while I'm doing that, because I'm sort of praying as I'm doing that as well. And I'm not necessarily like, oh God, please do this. No, not that kind. I'm just talking to the universe and asking for what I would like to have happen. Like, fire dragons, clear my space, put a firewall of loving protection around me, to keep my vibration high. So, the Archangel Michael to help me feel confident and to focus on my purpose for this reading and bringing through those messages of love, etc. So just that kind of thing. And I go around and I sage my space, and I have my own little saging ritual. And then I will call it. Then I'll go to. So I already have my deck, and crystals. Usually I already know what deck I'm going to work with. I just ask, and they show me a symbol, and I pick that deck. Like crystals, because I have this ability to feel the energy of the crystal, like as if there's a magnetic connection between my body and the crystal. So if I put my hand out, my hand just goes like involuntarily towards the crystal. I can feel the energy. I can hover around until I feel that click, and my hands are pulled down to it. So that, if I see a face in the crystal and it's smiling at me, that may mean to me that crystal wants to be used. So you just end up developing your own way of working with these things. And so when I'm ready, I have the candles lit, and now what I will do is I will, work on my question, and we're going to talk more about this in a minute, and I will create a spread. And when that feels right, then I know I can begin my reading. And what I do then is I call up, I ask for God to overlight my reading. I call up then these energy grids. I call up the energy grid for the reading itself. So, this reading has already happened before I'm sitting down to do it. Like, my higher self and the universe has already come together, or the client. And so I just call up that reading because it's already happened. And in terms of your higher selves already started communicating, and then what unfolds is also still happening to them in the present, and as we engage in that energy. So I call it the energy grid for the reading, and then I will call up their I am presence or my I am presence, my higher self soul, and my soul person, my personality as well, the facets of my personality, and then I call it my God team. So simply, I would recommend just calling up the energy grid of the reading that you're going to do. If it's a day that when I do the daily card message, I call up the energy grid of that day. Or if I'm doing a week, I call up the energy grid for that week. Or it's a month, you can call it up, the year, you can call it up like that. And then just call up your I am presence, your higher self, and whatever else and then your God team. I call them up when I can feel their energy come in, and then I would begin the reading. And what I usually do before my clients and before with myself as well is that I will just sit there sort of like in a meditation, and then I'm connecting in with that energy and just seeing what insights are there, and I just start writing down what I see. Some of it's drawings, some of it's writing, some of it's words that I see. And I write it and draw it best way I can. I draw like a child. So, and then I will maybe, pull the cards for the spread. And if I have a spread, then I will tune in to the cards as I'm pulling each one. And I may see a little symbol vision, so I put it down and put it with the card number so that when I go through the reading, I incorporate what my visions, drawings I call them, with the tarot card and combine those messages. And all right, so then you just go through. I don't really have time to get into today, reading the cards. I think that's just a whole nother separate topic. And so I know I'm not talking about that, because now I want to talk about getting to the heart of the questions. But I know that somebody, let me just see if I can understand that question that you wrote, and then some explanations here. So you say energy can switch astrological signs. Okay. Let me go find you again. Meaning energy is fluid and messages can come in the form of an astrological sign. Are we in judgment when we say toxic or karmic? Well, I think the toxic is a judgment. And I mean, we got to remember, it's as long as you understand it's a way that something isn't really toxic. It's the way that we compare. We compare energy to know where we want to go, and in that way, it's a little bit more objective. Like, oh, so you turn on the water faucet and you turn it one way, you go, and you didn't know, and you go, oh, hot, and then you turn another way, you go cold, you go, oh, and then you realize you could turn in between and go, oh, now that's like lukewarm, that I like, right? So if we use terms to help us to sift through our own desires in order to come to a realization of what that our purpose and our desire is, then it's not judgmental. But when you just blanket out and say this is toxic and tell everybody else that this is toxic, it is a form of judgment. Because and this is kind of, and I can't say that I haven't been perfect with this, because I'm telling you this today because it came to me. And that's what happens when I'm talking to you. A lot of things I'm learning as I'm talking to you because of the claircognizance and the clairaudience. It's just coming to me. And it's like I'm remembering something. So, if it's, you realize that it's not right for you, that word toxic may come up, and then what you may want to do so it doesn't become personal, because when something becomes personal, and this is what's really important, when you take things personally, you become attached to it. You become, you draw it into your energy, you draw it into yourself. It's like you're giving it permission to become an experience through which you are going to experience lessons. And karma to me is more technical than judgmental. Because, it's kind of, I don't know if it's a law, but it's a universal principle. Well, it kind of is a law of cause and effect, karma, right? So it is a law, spiritual law. And the thing about karma is it's not negative so much as we are stuck in a pattern. And what our soul wants is freedom, to be unlimited. We don't mind going through all the different things. From the soul's perspective, it came here to learn. So it came here to enjoy the school. Like the holographic room in Star Trek is a playroom. But they may choose to put themselves in a war, or choose to hang out at a cafe from the past, when people didn't have that many freedoms. But that moment, it just may seem very idealistic, right? So the thing is that if you were to go into that holographic room and take it personally, and you would find it difficult to say, computer, or whatever they used to say, turn this off, and I forgot what they said in Star Trek, but you know what I'm trying to say. They would say, all right, computer, end it, all right, and then they would walk out. And so when we say something in a personal way, it's hard for us to walk out, and that's what the karma is. So now we're stuck. We have these beliefs, and these beliefs cause and effect, create these influences in our lives that we keep now repeating because we're personally involved. We're attached emotionally. We're not objective. We're not in this place, not this neutral space, which your higher consciousness is always coming from, this neutrality and this great compassion. And so your higher self takes the lessons immediately from everything that you do, and it's transmuted into enlightenment for the entire universe to study. But we get stuck. And we were supposed to come in and get the same enlightenment, but through this physical experience, and then we don't know how to get out of it. And we then, carry around this what we call negative energy, because we are focused outside of our soul's purpose and a mission. And so it's a good thing that we feel negative energy, because as long as that's happening, you know that you are out of alignment and that you need to shift, change, transform in any way that you can, to take it less personal. Okay. How do you feel about shuffling and waiting for cards to be given? That is perfectly fine. Like that kind of stuff, that's how you connect. And that all goes into, that may be a physical thing that you do. So that physical preparation that makes you feel in alignment. All right. It could go into the other areas as well. It may calm your mind, may give you something to focus on. So that may also be a mental way of preparing for your reading. You see how they work together? All right. All right, so let's see. Lula Marie, receive signs from angels. I hear and feel the same. Yes, it's do the result. Sometimes turns out painful with the lesson. What? Whoa. That went too far back. Let's see. But when I do the results sometimes turn painful with the lesson. So I wonder why that happens. I don't know what you mean, but it turns. Okay, yeah. Well, Alula Maria, that is going to be exactly what I'm talking about in the Monday's daily card. So I think that will really help you. And it's coming out tomorrow. Same point I just came across. Okay, so, all right. So let's this is getting to the heart of the question. So learning how to write predictive versus creating your future. So you already probably write mostly predictive questions, but we're going to focus on how to write questions that create your future, help you to recognize and identify the characteristics of each, and to discern the role of empowerment versus powerlessness of each. Learn to get to the heart of your question. Okay, so, hi, Caitlin. Well, you'll be able to go back and watch the rest of it for sure in the beginning after we're done. But so now the question I would ask you is, what kind of readings are you doing for yourself? All right, so you're either doing a predictive type reading, or you are doing a reading where you are creating your future, your reality. You're thinking about, you see yourself as this, you have this ability to plan, and to, you're coming to the angels to get in alignment with that. So let me just go through these questions that I wrote out for you. So it says, predicting the future. So do you believe your future is fated? Do you believe you are not responsible for what can happen next in your life? Do you believe that life is happening to you? How does it make you feel to think that life is out of your control? That like you have no say-so in what's happening? What kind of emotions do you experience around this kind of belief? So you may feel anxious, right? And that's a great question, Okay, so do you feel powerless or empowered when you hear this, in terms of predicting your future? When you think about your future, do you feel resistance or alignment more readily? Okay? So, now let's look at creating your future. And I know I'm asking questions, but I guess I wanted the questions not for you to answer them so much as to think about the question and in relationship to that type of reading for yourself. All right, so creating your future. Do you believe in and want to be able to make choices concerning your future? Just notice how these questions feel to your soul. All right? Do you get excited about the possibility of creating the outcome you desire? Now, keep in mind, this may be something you've never really thought of before, but hearing it for the first time, how does it feel? Do you feel more alignment or do you feel resistance? Like when we were reading the predictive questions, did you feel really in alignment when you were hearing those questions? Or was it kind of sort of hitting you in certain ways? I don't know why, but Google or YouTube is like just getting rid of some of your questions, the way you may be saying them. So that and Lula Marie, you just wrote something, but I don't know what they did. And somebody else earlier did the same thing. Okay, going on. Do you believe life is happening because of you? Are you ready to take responsibility for what happens next in your life? What kind of emotions come up for you about taking a leadership role or responsibility in creating your future? Does the possibility of creating your future cause you to feel empowered, or is this just a completely insane idea? When you think about creating your future, do you feel this is in alignment with your truth, or that this is out of alignment with it? Now, here's the thing to think about when you talk about creating your future. Source is a creator, and you are an extension of Source. Therefore, you are also a creator of your reality. Why else were we given free will? Now, it's true that your soul chose, but that's still free will, the lessons and certain aspects of your life that you would experience, because it wanted to make sure that those were the huge lessons, those were the experiences, some of the things you wanted to work out, the karma that you wanted to work through, you wanted to try it again, try something, and so but even then it's still your choice, because when you come in and you incarnate, you have amnesia about all of this, so that you can be free, you have the free will to act according to who you are evolving into at each point in your life. But you will have this sense of a remembering, or this sense of this is important, but the choices, the little nuances, the many directions, there are an infinite number of directions open to you. So when you're talking about creating your future and sitting down and doing a reading and asking questions like this, and I'm going to tell you how to identify them. It really feels, for me, it feels like my soul is just jumping for joy. And it's a different process, because now there's not so much tension. And what are they trying to say? Because that what I don't know, I don't understand, comes from the predictive is like God, the universe is greater than you, and God is greater than you, and angels are better than you, and they know better than you, and so you're not smart enough to make decisions for yourself. So you come to us and we'll tell you. And that doesn't feel good to anybody. If your parents did that to you, you wouldn't like it. I can tell you, I am the first. I will come out like, oh, I will retaliate I can be pretty mean if you tell me what to do. Do not like it. So, and And I think it's an instinct that, it's that freedom component. And we really are willing to protect our freedom, right? So with this creative way of approaching your readings, you're not as now worried about what's going to happen. So therefore, you're kind of scared to ask the question because you don't really want the answer, kind of thing. This whole dynamic goes away. And I'm going to tell you, before I'm doing readings for myself personally, they never were fruitful. They never meant anything to me. I wasn't even in them. But this approach, I could go all day. One question, once I ask a question, then I think of another question that's allowing me to create my own choices and to understand the choices that I want to make and what resonates with me. And it just unfolds, and I get so much detail as if I was giving a reading for my client. So the predictive question, and this is something I really am so grateful to my time with Biddy Tarot, because this was something that was really important. So there's just some things that come to me as a result of the work, but this was a really big piece. And I tell you another thing, the more I tried to not do the predictive type questions, the more my intuition, the stronger it became. Because why? Because when you're asking a predictive question, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of resistance, you're scared about being right and wrong. And that's when your intuition actually shows you things or makes you aware of the things that you really want to know. So you really come out feeling like you've gotten all the answers that you needed. And those are the answers that usually are supporting you in doing what you want to do. So a predictive question will begin with, will I, because like future tense, right? Will I, will he, will they, will we get together again? Will they like me? Will he ask me to marry him? When will I meet my soulmate? When will I get my job? When am I going to get some money because I'm out of money? As soon as you ask questions like that, you're in a place of resistance. Why? Because your higher self is singing it's created a whole nother Broadway play. It's like, I'm abundant and I'm this and da 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 da, and my life is this, and you're over here going, my life is, and it's like, and then I want to go, like everything you think of is like, and the reason you're like that, because that your higher self is having singing this great song about you and about the universe, and you are not. And when you are not in alignment with your higher self, you have no energy and you have no creativity. Your thoughts, nothing's happening for you. Yes, I really just have to be funny, but have to be honest about this, right? So it's just, you are giving yourself agita and all kinds of stuff. You're going to feel anxious. It's never going to go away if this is how you think. All right. Other questions so when will I get pregnant? Should I do this or not? See, that's the doubt. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Oh, don't do that, please. I'm not saying there's not a place for a yes or no question, but please don't make that a habit, because that is really practicing. I don't know anything. I'm ignorant. I'm not a creator. I'm not special in this universe. I'm not an extension of God. No, I'm not. That's negative. That's toxic. But it's not it doesn't come from outside of us. It initiates within us, because we're the only ones that can create, through free will, the illusion of not of not being happy, of being, we create what we perceive as negative, toxic. Only we can conjure that for ourselves. Nobody can do it to you. Nobody, I don't care how much somebody goes, I want you to die, I want you to die. It won't work. The only reason it does, or appears to, is because you bought into it. You got scared, you took it personally, and then you start getting crazy signals in your head, and you do something and cause yourself to have an accident because you kept believing. Now they said it's going to happen. Oh, it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen because they got so, this person's so powerful. Like, I am not more powerful than you are. Don't go there. That's insane. If you're going to say we're all powerful, then I can get with you on that. But I can't have you say to me, oh, Barry, you're so powerful. Because now, that doesn't feel good. And you may, think about that. It's like, you don't feel good when you say that. You feel bad about yourself. Just like when you look at somebody and go, oh, they're really pretty. Oh, you're just saying, I wish I was. You're not saying, ooh, they're really pretty and I feel pretty too. No, that's not how it works. Okay. So, other questions. When will I get the job? When will I meet my soulmate? So those things I went over. Okay, so creating your reality questions begin with how can I? What changes do I need to incorporate? What's coming into my awareness? What action steps do I need to take to improve the changes to help me get a job? So you would ask questions, basically, that if you were talking to somebody and they were whining and whining and whining, and you would say to them, okay, well, how can we support you? Or how can you support yourself? Or how can you, these are the kind of questions you would ask. What can you do to get yourself out of this funk? Or, or what changes could I make that would put me on the path that I want to excel? Like you would just think of the questions as if you have this responsibility, or that you can be responsible in changing your life. And I tell you, because since I've been doing this, I've seen the effects it's had on me. So I'm usually able to really see this for other people. But doing this daily, writing questions like this, it has really shifted. It's taken over my mind. It's anything that you practice becomes a new habit. And so, this kind of work will help you really to shift your karma, so to speak, okay? All right, so does this make sense to people? Let me just go back over here and look. Well, I have to tell you, the tarot or the oracle deck, either can work. For me, the tarot is just amazing because the structure of the tarot, there's so many things. There's the numerology, the systems, the suits. Each suit represents, certain ideas. So even if you don't have pictures, you could work with those. Then the pictures are detailed and they're constructed to the meaning of that particular card. And so there's symbolism in there that you can pick up. The oracle decks, sometimes I find, I used to use them a lot, and I find myself not using them as much to read. I use oracle decks like, say, Kyle Gray's Keepers of the Light, or the Dragon cards, or the Unicorn, because I want to connect in with that energy of the Ascended Master. Oh, Don, thank you, because I don't think a lot of people are happy about me using traditional tarot. Well, let's see. You're not saying that. So people are really scared about the tarot decks, and you really shouldn't be. When you learn what they mean and you get past the things that we think they mean, like the devil card scares people. But I mean, yeah, it's not pleasant to look at, but it the symbolism is helping you to unlock something in your soul, and it's almost like if we gloss over them, and you can really miss those meanings. I'm not saying like Doreen's decks, I didn't think that they eclipsed them, but the thing is that when you have the oracle, it's like sort of tarot slash oracle, you're looking at the meanings of the words and you're not really paying attention to the pictures. And so then you're not really getting into the symbolism that a tarot artist and author is trying to help you to connect with. You see, I like the yes. Well, yes, like golden. The one I'm using now, the Gaian Tarot, is really amazing. Some of the other ones I've been using really, again, they're more traditional. They're not like the Angel Tarot decks, but they really get these decks. You can, once you learn like the basic one, and then you start reading the different ones, you can really get a lot out of them. So yeah, okay. So get into the heart of the question. So all right. So let's say that. Let me see. After you meditate, do you see difference in cars you didn't see before? So yeah, I mean, in the sense that, Raylene, that when your mind, when we like that whole part in the beginning about preparing, spiritual, mental, when you are agitated or restless and unfocused, that's when you don't feel like sitting there doing your reading for yourself. That's when you get frustrated with your reading. So do anybody would see or experience or have more connection as a result of meditating? Yes. In that way, yes, I'm answering your question. Yes. Okay. So, boy, these are never short, are they? So I have a spread and that I wanted to do. And the first question is, I'm just titling this the higher consciousness, or the ethers. So we're going to be working with the 5 elements: ether, fire, air, water, and earth. Okay? So the first question is, what spiritual lessons are coming into my awareness as a result of the coronavirus? So I thought this would be a great spread so that everyone could kind of use and tune in and check in with yourself from time to time about what's going on right now with us. So I'm just going to read them first, and then we'll go back. So that's the first question. What spiritual lessons are coming into my awareness as a result of the coronavirus? The second one, spirit, fire. How can I best channel my passions at this time for the greater good and my own personal fulfillment? Okay. And then mental, air. What am I struggling to express or communicate during this time? Emotional, water. What feelings are surfacing and what kind of energy am I creating as a result? So what feelings are surfacing and what kind of energy am I creating as a result? Okay, physical, earth. What activities will help bring more joy in my life so that I can feel creative and productive? All right. So, well, I'm wondering if this will just go way too long. today. And so maybe what I have to do is next Saturday, do sort of like a continuation with this. Yeah. And what I'm going to do, Don, is I'm going to post these questions on my Facebook page, and I'm going to post them on my YouTube post as well. So I post the daily card messages there. So I'm going to post them in each of these places, and I'll also post them in the description link after we finish the chat. That way you will have access to them over the week, and we can do them together next week. Okay, so I think this will be really, really important. I'm feeling a little bit of like it's an overload energetically, and I think it's best that we continue this next week. And some of the questions that are in the comment section, I'm going to go through them and then, prepare them for next week. So, my, let me see, it is here. So in the bottom, so there is an email. There should be I'll give you my email, and it'll be in the bottom of this video, theangelschool.com. I'm sorry. Well, no, it's theangelschool@aol.com. And if you have specific questions as a result of what we did today, you can write me, and then I will use that and go through them and use them as in preparation for the next time we talk. Although we're going to spend, I wanted to keep it to an hour, and we'll do that first half hour like going through your questions, and then I think the last half hour, it probably won't even take that long to do this spread. Okay, to do this spread, and that way we can have people pay attention who weren't here with us. That because if these go too long, then other people won't want to pay attention and tune into them. So, all right. So I will burn down. Okay. So yeah, just whatever questions you want to leave here now in the chat. And when I post the video after we end it, it will go download and post at some point, and you can add your comments. I'm just trying to see if, no, so I'll have to go in and add my email address. So in the description link below, but it's theangelschool@aol.com. All right. And I won't be answering you during the week, but I will just know that I will get them, and I will collect them and go through them and organize next week's session. All right. Live chat. All right, everybody. So, and what I also may do is, let me see. Well, I'll think about that. So I don't want to say it because I'm not sure if I'll know how to do it. So I'll leave that alone. I'll put more pressure on myself here. Okay, so everyone, thank you for joining, and I look forward to seeing you next week as we continue. We'll do this the spread, and bring your tarot decks. So I'm going to be using the Gaian Tarot that we're using right now. I love this deck. I feel like this deck is really great for this time, and think about which decks allow you to really connect with what's going on right now, and that you have. You want to use an Oracle deck, you can. I mean, I was looking at this, the Indigo Oracle card deck by Doreen Virtue, and you could work with these. They have like simple answers on them, like make a wish, that kind of thing. You can work with that, and you can use them in combination if you want as well, tarot and this. So whatever system you know really well and you feel comfortable with. And we're just going to share your readings in the chat and okay, and see what you get. And if you need more answers, you could create another question, like you're looking at this and you're doing it. We'll talk about this next week. So anyway, I better stop. Thank you all for being here, and God's blessings and peace to you during this week. Have a beautiful week. Bye-bye, everyone. Oh, well, I'll have to get it out, Don, next time. Okay. But the thing is that deck is no longer, it's in print, but you have to get it through Schiffer, and Schiffer put some little, they did something on the edges, like these little blue things on the edges, and I really hate it. But it's the only one you can buy. But I think at this point, unless you go to her website, but I will post the information about the deck, and you can in the description link, and you can look it up. It's on my videos as well. But I'll try to remember to have it prepared and out, the box cover for that deck. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.